Prosecutor. Video shows Pike Company deputy assaulting restrained man in custody.
And right now, brand new details in this investigation into a Pike County Sheriff's deputy who quit his job after this video surfaced of him beating a detained prisoner that was in custody. Good afternoon to you. I'm Tricia Mackey. I hope you had a great day. Let's get right to it. Fox 19 Now's Chris Riva. So Chris, what do you have about this? This is kind of crazy.
All right, Tricia, as you were just showing it, here is the video from Pike County in the jail where it shows Deputy Jeremy Mooney hitting the suspect 11 times. He hit him with such force that he broke his hand. He has since filed a workers' comp claim. Now, Moon quit his job before this video surfaced, as you just mentioned, but we have now learned that the supervisor, who seemingly does nothing as the detainee is pepper sprayed and then falls to the ground, has been suspended for 2 weeks and now demoted. This is the video released by Pike County Prosecutor Rob Junk that he turned over to the FBI, asking them to investigate.
Well, it was disturbing. It's not something you would expect a officer to be doing.
In the incident report obtained by Fox 19, it adds details into what led up to Thomas Friend's arrest and his actions once in custody. The report states that Friend told deputies he was not going down without a fight. The report says Friend bit an officer on the arm and threatened to kill the arresting deputy by decapitating him.
He'd been high on bath salts, breaking into neighbors' vehicles, assaulting people.
The report confirms multiple investigators say Friend was combative, spitting, a danger to himself and others.
Deputy, for whatever reason, just felt like he had had enough, I suppose. I really can't speak for him.
Interim Sheriff James Nelson says despite Friend's behavior, officers must be held to a higher standard, noting in this case, once detained, Friend did not put officers in immediate danger. Nelson added the use of force is excessive.
The inmate was restrained in a chair, no threat to the deputy, and just a very unfortunate situation.
Mooney resigned last month before he was fired.
I do feel it's just another black eye on Pike County, and that's not how our department runs. I think it was just an isolated incident.
Prosecutor Rob Junk says he has not heard from the FBI office yet, adding he'll turn the case over to the AG's office if the FBI does not follow through with charges.
We'll make sure that no officers give
over to the AG's office if the FBI does not follow through with charges.
We'll make sure that no officers give in our jurisdiction ever even thinks of doing anything like this again.
Sheriff Nelson says that after this incident and what has happened, his department now is committed to getting additional training on how to handle prisoners and the use of the restraint chair. So, Tricia, we checked in with the Pike County Prosecutor's office. They still have not heard from the FBI late this afternoon, but they are adamant. They want to see charges in this case, not just the fact that Mooney lost his job.
Well, I didn't realize when he was there and he fell back in
Yes.
that chair, they were spraying him with mace. Is that all the fumes that was coming?
Right, and so he was down in that position for 11 additional minutes,
Wow.
which is one of the reasons that the supervisor was suspended.
Oof. All right, Chris, thanks so much.
Pike County, Ohio. Fox 19. Pike County Prosecutor Rob Junk has asked the FBI to look into a disturbing video he said shows a deputy repeatedly assaulting a restrained man in custody to see if federal criminal charges are warranted. The incident happened on November 18 when deputies with the Pike County Sheriff's Department brought Thomas Friend in on 3 misdemeanor charges of criminal mischief and 1 misdemeanor count each of assault and theft, according to Junk and court records. Pike County's top prosecutor said he's seen the video and it shows Deputy Jeremy Mooney using pepper spray on Friend, 27, and punching in the face several times while he was restrained in a chair, and a supervisor watched at least part of the incident without intervening. At one point, Friend tried to move the chair back and it tipped back, dumping Friend on the ground, still restrained on the chair, facing up, the video shows. It was disturbing to watch, Junk told Fox 19 Now in an interview Monday. Honestly, I'm not happy about it. It cries out for a criminal investigation on it. According to the Pike County Sheriff's Office disciplinary action form, no further use of force is to be applied against any inmate after being secured in the chair. This includes unarmed measures, pepper spray, or batons. The form reads. The deputy broke his hand in the incident, and an ambulance responded to take him to a local hospital for treatment. Mooney has since resigned and filed a workers' comp claim over his broken hand. According to Junk, the supervisor was demoted. Junk said he referred the case to the Cincinnati office of the FBI and wants to be as transparent as possible. He said interim Sheriff Jim Nelson reached out to him about the case before Thanksgiving, and he did not get involved because discipline in the case was already underway. Nelson says despite Friend's behavior, officers must be held to a higher standard, noting in this case officers were not in immediate danger. I do feel it's just another black eye on Pike County, and that's not how our department runs. This was an isolated incident, Nelson said. He added the use of force in this case was excessive. The inmate was restrained in a chair, no threat to the deputy, and it's just a very unfortunate situation, Nelson said. I absolutely want an investigation on this. There's got to be, Junk said. If this doesn't come out into the light of day, somebody is going to think it was covered up. I won't have that. It needs to be out in the open. People need to know what their law enforcement officers are doing. If the FBI passes on investigating the case, Junk said he will turn to the Ohio Attorney General's office. We want to make sure no officer in our jurisdiction even thinks of doing anything like this again, he said. A spokesman for the FBI said Monday they cannot confirm or deny the existence of a potential investigation. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost did not respond to a request for comment Monday. Nelson said his department will receive additional training on how to handle prisoners and use of the restraint chair. The deputy for whatever reason felt like he'd had enough, I suppose. You know, I really can't speak for him, he said. Chief Deputy Ryan Bentley said Mooney told him Friend had spit on him and he had lost his cool. However, said he violated several of the sheriff's office policy and procedures. The prisoner who is shown being assaulted in the video was originally taken into custody for disorderly conduct 2 days before the attack. On November 16, another deputy responded to a report of a man identified as Friend getting into vehicles and repeatedly honking horns in the 2400 block of Stewart Hollow Road. Friend left the property before the deputy arrived. He was later located at the end of the road, where he abruptly opened the door to the deputy's cruiser and threw a debit card at the deputy, hitting him in the face. The incident report states, he cursed and yelled at the deputy, and as the deputy began to get him from inside the vehicle, the report goes on. According to the prosecutor, Friend had been using bath salts and methamphetamine. He had been high on bath salts, breaking into neighbors' vehicles and assaulting people, Junk said. He said he was a danger to himself and others. Mr. Friend was heaving erratically and aggressively, so he was ordered to get on the ground and place his hands behind his back. The report states, Mr. Friend complied with the order, then pulled his pants down, exposing his buttocks and telling the deputy to lick his a-hole. I began to detain Mr. Friend, at which time he said he wasn't going down without a fight and leaned up while this deputy began to pull him from the ground and bit the deputy's triceps. The bite didn't break the skin but bruised the back of the arm. The report reads, Friend was put in the back of the patrol car but continued to curse and threatened to harm and kill the deputy by decapitating him. I spoke with a male at the residence and that Mr. Friend was near, and he stated that Mr. Friend was his brother and had been acting in this manner for the past several days. He stated that he has been damaging items around the home, showing the deputy a broken glass door and a busted vehicle windshield. Mr. Friend's brother stated that Mr. Friend had also bit his ear yesterday, causing it to bleed. I asked if he wished to make a report and needed an ambulance, and he stated no, he just wanted him to get help. Friend continued to act erratically while he was taken to the Pike County Sheriff's Office and spit throughout the back of the deputy's vehicle after being repeatedly warned to stop and threatened to kill the deputy and kick at the back of the seats. Friend was housed temporarily at the Pike County Holding Facility and due to his behaviors had to be restrained to the restraint chair, the deputy wrote in his report. He is now at the Butler County Jail.
Meet the interim sheriff of the Pikes County, Ohio Sheriff's Department, Jim Nelson, who is talking about his deputy, who resigned and says this is an isolated incident, but that's a distorted information statement. The previous sheriff reader is under indictment for many serious charges, including felonies, which is another story in itself. I love videos because they don't lie, and this one doesn't. Thomas Friend got arrested for disorderly conduct, which is a petty crime, and is brought to the Pike County Jail, where Deputy Jeremy Mooney gets a hard-on before he uses pepper spray on Mr. Friend. But James, he's in a restraint chair. I know, but Deputy Mooney, he be one sick mother blanker who must be psychotic and sick in too many ways to describe, and doses him not once but twice. But there's more. You can see him using Mr. Friend just like a punching bag. This incident happened on November 18th, but the video was recently released. It's not fair that the wheels of justice turn very slow for these corrupt cops, but time after time, the same modus operandi happens, and this can't be by chance. Corrupt cops abuses citizen civil rights. There is an attempted cover-up, but there's video. It appears a fair amount of video was deleted. Oh my God, that's a bingo obstruction of justice charge. Yeah, but who did it? Deputy Mooney resigns before he is charged. So when is that going to happen? The prosecutor has asked the Federal Bureau of Idiots for assistance. But why? In my humble opinion, the prosecutor knows this was a criminal act. So why didn't he act? That's a great question. But these prosecutors, they have to work with these corrupt cops and don't want to alienate and piss them off, so they defer. And if the FBI doesn't take the case, then the prosecutor will turn to the Attorney General? This sounds like another case of toss the hot potato. But what about justice for society? If this was John or Joanna Public Citizen, they would be locked up immediately. And so the vicious cycle of legal system corruption continues. I left out an important tidbit. After Mooney resigned, he filed a workers' comp claim for a broken hand that was likely caused by punching Mr. Friend's face. Check out the links. This is James Justice. Have a great day.
Now to a story you'll see only here on Local 12. A Pike County Sheriff's deputy caught on camera beating a man who was restrained in a chair. That deputy has since resigned, and his supervisor is suspended and demoted. But the punishment may not end there. The FBI is being asked to take a look at the case, and Brad Underwood is here now after showing that video to a defense attorney. And Brad, he says that charges must be filed.
No question. Jay Clark taking a look at this video for us. He says it clearly shows civil rights violations and felony assault. He says both deputies need to be fired and not given that favorable suspension he calls and an accepted resignation. And for whatever reason, the video that was released by the Pike County Sheriff's Office is missing a 20-minute section. The surveillance video shows Pike County Deputy Jeremy Mooney pepper spray Thomas Friend at point-blank range. Friend is restrained in a chair and tries to move away and falls over. Minutes later, Mooney punches Friend 3 times, then 3 more, and later 5 times. In total, 11 blows to the face.
There's absolutely nothing there to justify the use of force. Nothing.
We showed the video to defense attorney Jay Clark. He says the assault is clear, unprovoked, and charges should be filed.
You're not allowed to do that. I don't care who you are. There's nothing that justifies that.
Interim Pike County Sheriff Jim Nelson says Friend was trying to spit on inmates while being transferred to court, and that this is the first case of excessive force in the department that he's aware of.
With all the publicity that we get down here, I do feel it's just another black eye on Pike County, and that's not how our department runs. I think it was just an isolated incident.
Nelson says both Mooney and his supervisor, William Stansberry, were immediately placed on leave. Pike County Prosecutor Rob Junk is now asking the FBI to look at the video and decide whether criminal charges should be filed.
With officers, they're bound to follow the law. As you can see, this deputy's conduct in the video, people can judge for themselves whether they think whether they think this is wrong. And obviously the answer is it is. It just speaks for itself.
Those two make good cops' jobs that much harder. Those two are what caused the problems for the 99% of all the other good cops.
After the beating that morning, Friend was taken to the hospital. He's now in jail for disorderly conduct. Sheriff Nelson says he does believe that Mooney should face criminal charges for the assault. Now, the prosecutor, Junk, says if the FBI doesn't do anything, he's going to turn to the Ohio Attorney General's office to launch a criminal investigation. So not going anywhere, this story. We're just going to have to wait and see how this is going to play out in the courtroom.
And Friend, why was he under arrest or in custody in the first place?
Yeah, it was a disorderly conduct. He was messing with some cars, honking horns, and then acted a little erratic when police got there, so he was arrested, and he was in their custody this day because they were taking him to court.
Yeah, and we were commenting during that video. I mean, those were hard punches.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the deputy broke his hand as a result of those 11 punches.